Well, Linda and I are starting out our day in beautiful downtown Winifred, Montana. And Winifred is a different kind of little town. Number one, it's for sure a farm town. But what makes it different is at the end of Highway, well, not the end. It's the end of the paved section of Highway 236 out of Lewistown, Montana. And from here, it's all dirt, no matter where you go, unless you go back the way you came. I see they have cute girls here. It's got everything you need. Grocery store, tavern across the street. And I figure this must be a pretty good steakhouse because last night there was about 20 motorcycles parked out front here. This is Sunday. Everything's kind of quiet right now. So once you take the paved road into Winifred, there's 4 or 5 ways out of town, but it's all dirt. But this is the gateway to the Missouri River Breaks National Monument, which is an incredible place to explore, and the elk hunting is fantastic. So people come here to explore the breaks. If you go north from here, you come to the McClellan Ferry, which is, we did a video of a similar ferry recently, which is a cable ferry across the river. Another way you go, you come down to Judith Gap, which has a small bridge across the Missouri River. This is all out kind of middle of nowhere stuff. Judith Gap also has a campground on the north side of the river there. Then there's the, I think it's called the Missouri Breaks Scenic Byway, is a dirt road that heads out of here to the, kind of to the east. Now, we're not going to be doing the breaks on this trip because you don't go there during rainy season and there's rain in the forecast for tonight and tomorrow and the next day. If you go in there when it's raining, you're stuck there till the roads dry out. But we are going to do a trip through the Missouri Breaks. Linda and I are going to do a 5 or, gosh, I think it's going to be about a 7-day canoe trip through the Missouri River Breaks. Stay tuned for that one.
I don't know, Rick. I kind of like this town. Guys keep waving at me.
The thing about Winifred is everybody waves at everybody because you had to want to be here. Because it's at, like I say, it's at the end of the road.
Yeah.
Nice little town with friendly people. Man, we spent a quiet night last night at the Pioneer City Park, which was free RV camping down there. Just, man, I slept like a log.
Me too, yeah. It was really nice.
Very peaceful. This would be the old train station. Probably was a busy place in its heyday. Hey, listen, we're headed for another ghost town. We're heading for Maiden. Is that what it's called?
I think so. Yeah, Maiden.
It's up north of Lewistown, Montana, and that's where we're going today. So come along for that one. I know this isn't too good a view, but this is the park where we stayed last night. It's just on the entrance to town. This is very typical of the countryside here in eastern Montana, central Montana and eastern Montana. Rolling farmland, ranch land, mountains, some mountains. Up ahead of us is the little tiny town of Hilger, Montana. Linda and I have never toured Hilger, so we'll take a little drive around and see what there is to see here. Right in front is the Hideaway Bar. And just up the street here, there's a whole bunch of cars parked in front of a building here. I wonder what that's about. That usually means a good cafe or restaurant. Doesn't say. Or junkyard. Had us fooled. Well, what you're looking at there is the Hilger School, the blue building.
I just associate the town of Hilger with beef. I don't know why. I think we were at some farm and ranch show and they were giving out samples.
Yeah, sausages and things like that.
Yeah, and it was really good.
Well, I saw the meat packing place when we first came into town here, Hilger Meats.
we're surrounded by ranches, so must be nice, good beef.
Well, we just took a turn off of Highway 191, leading north out of Lewistown, Montana. This is heading up to Maiden Ghost Town. Linda and I tried to go here years ago, but the road was washed out. So we tried to go through the southern entrance, and the bridge was washed out down there. So we never made it up here. This is the first time now for Linda and I also to the Maiden Ghost Town. Well, these are the Judith Mountains. Man, it is beautiful up in here.
Yeah.
But come on and I'll show you the old assay office.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
So you can kind of see what's left. This is one of the last buildings left of 1880. That, of course, at the front was a store, and the back were living quarters. You can see the rocks right there. 3 warehouse and a store. She also had Gilt Edge, had a place in Gilt Edge.
Okay.
She also had a place in Kendall.
Yeah, we went to
We were
Kendall
j-
Isn't that
yesterday.
wonderful?
Yeah, it
I
is,
wish the
yeah.
Boy Scouts had come here. So she was quite a businesswoman. She outlived her husband. She outlived several children. But the story about Mrs. Ballinger was when there was a fire and they needed pails. And of course, Mrs. Ballinger had them in her store. She made them buy them before they could put them. So you lived here. My husband's family had been here. They had his grandfather came in 1887 from North Dakota, 19 years old, took the train, got off in Billings, and he said, "Where should I go?" And they said, they discovered gold in Maiden, Montana, and that's where a young man should go, find gold.
Oh.
So he came then. He lived here till he passed away in the 50s, early 60s. They moved into town during the winter, but they had, so that was an old schoolhouse at one time, but he bought that. Somebody built this stupid building over here, and we bought it about 30 years ago. So we have, my brother-in-law bought this building. Right where that truck is parked was the opening of the Bullion Saloon was right where that truck was parked. And Calamity Jane here was at the opening of the Bullion Saloon.
The Calamity Jane?
Calamity Jane.
She spent time in Lewistown.
And also she spent time in Gilt Edge. That was one of the last places. If you go through Gilt Edge, there's right on the road. There's this old place falling down, more like this kind of falling down.
How you
I
like that?
guess. And that's the old jail that she was incarcerated a lot. You can see the original logs. Okay, that was over there behind that house, and that's where Pat's mother was born in that cabin, and then he got this White House. It always had electricity. The White House did, but it never had running water or plumbing. They still use that pump that's from 1880. Now we own most of it. Pat's brother owns this part, that part, but we've bought from family members and stuff. We've bought other
So
property.
it's all still basically the same family, right?
Yes, Wiglander
Yeah.
is the name.
Yeah.
Is the name. You'd have to really money, you know. I'm sure you pick up the mail. My brother-in-law thinks that's funny that 3 years ago somebody put some money on the table, so he just has left it there.
Don't touch it.
Is that the
Don't
stupidest
sign
thing?
it, don't touch the money.
Isn't that the stupidest thing?
Here's something interesting.
Yeah.
Right here is where you sign in.
Yeah, dude, sure. Leave it alone. I like that picture.
And right underneath
because-
there's a pile of money they say has been laying there for years.
Yeah, this is my grandfather.
I love it. That's
my
pretty cool.
grandmother, and my mom.
So this is the original saloon and also the original assay office. So you can see the tools that we have up there. You can see where they would have weighed what they did. And this was the post office. Oh dear, I never thought about it. We always had this.
She was saying this is the original tools from the assay office here.
So
I like this picture.
This is the town of Maiden back in its heyday.
That's my grandfather.
Really?
That's my grandmother.
So these folks that own most of this property here and still let people in to look at the town of Maiden, they're descendants of some of the original people that lived here in the beginning.
And she also had a
And here's the original bar here of the Thomas Kerr Saloon.
busy one.
Looks like Chief Joseph up here in the corner.
Yes.
So these are some pictures I did years ago, and we're gonna.
Yeah, it's Chief Joseph.
Here's Calamity Jane.
This is a photograph taken probably in 1925 at a mine near this area. And that happens to be my grandfather, George Wiglanda. He came here in 1895 and spent the rest of his life here. And that's my grandmother, Helen. And she, of course, was married to my grandfather and spent her life here. And this is my mother, who was about 2 years old at the time.
Amazing. Hey, thank you for sharing that, boy. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah. Go out on the internet when it's convenient and put in Maiden, Montana, and you'll come up with a lot of different information on the history and stuff.
Okay.
Of Maiden.
I'll definitely do that.
Yeah. My name is Patrick Hanlon.
Glad to meet you, Patrick.
What was I saying? I was saying, yeah, such nice folks. They pretty much own most of this valley, but their family were original settlers here.
Yeah, and we just drove into the area and she waved at us from the yard and came out and just started talking to us. She was so nice. Her name's Marilyn.
Yeah.
Here in the little town of Maiden, Montana. What nice people. Well, let's see what else we can see here. There's not much left of the original Maiden. Big ore bucket. This is a governor of some kind for regulating pressure. Right next to it is a great big heat exchanger for making steam. Just like what they would have on a locomotive, except this was probably for running an engine of some kind of steam engine. And look at this gear here. Davis Horse Whim. So we were told that they took over 400,000 ounces of gold out of here, which isn't a lot, but it was definitely enough to make it payable, or make it pay. Marilyn said this was a store here with living quarters in the back. Well, when the gold goes away, so do the people. The gentleman was telling me that they start out by panning gold down lower in the stream, and when they start discovering gold, then they start placer mining, where they're actually washing the gold down off the hillsides with hoses and stuff. And then they continue to work their way up until they finally determine where the gold is coming from. And that's when the hard rock mining starts, where they start blasting back into the mountain and following the vein. And then when that runs out, the people run out. We are literally on the peak of the mountain and the view is 360 degrees around. It's beautiful. Out in the distance out here is the big snowy mountains, and they're still covered in snow. What was that movie with Robert Redford, the man from the big snowy mountains or something like that? Well, I guess that's where he was from. One thing for sure, when you can see so much, it sure makes you feel small. Well, Linda and I ended up at the free Kiwanis campground on the west side of Lewistown, Montana. You leave a donation, but it's always nice, it's always clean. So we like it here. We're gonna stay here for a couple of nights, and I'm gonna get some videos uploaded for you guys. And we got some things to show you in town tomorrow, and there's one more thing I want to add to this video, and that's pie, because there's a place in town that sells homemade pies, we think. We're going to check that out tomorrow and bring you along for that. Stay tuned just a little longer. Well, when it comes to homemade pie, Lewistown is a bust. But the rest of the town is nice, and the folks are friendly, and it's beautifully situated. Just bring your own homemade pie. Well, through some careful detective work, we found out that Big Spring Brewery here has homemade cheesecake. And if that turns out to be true, that's close enough. Well, it turns out they make such a great cheesecake that they're all sold out.
They only make it a couple of times a week and it gets sold out right away. So we gotta catch it.
Yeah, we're going to be here tomorrow too, so we took their card. We're going to check back. That was somebody's tent right there, all mangled. Well, Linda and I are holed up here in Lewistown, Montana, and we've been here a couple of nights. Yesterday it poured down rain all day, and today it's blowing 50, gusting 65. This storm, the southern end of this storm, has done a tremendous amount of damage down in Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah, Yellowstone National Park, a lot of the roads into the park are closed. They've evacuated the northern part of Yellowstone. They've evacuated parts of Livingston, Montana, which is right above Yellowstone.
Right.
Paradise Valley is flooded.
The Yellowstone River has taken out bridges. They say this is the storm of the century, or a record-breaking storm. Anyways, we're lucky to be here because we're secure here, and there's places to get food nearby, and we're heading out to wash clothes. So, so there you go. Okay, Linda and I made it into the Central Feed Grilling Company, and they've got homemade cheesecake here. So we're going to have lunch first, and then we're going to do the cheesecake. Woo-hoo. Oh yeah.